On the brisk morning of January 15, 1947, a young mother named Betty Berzinger was walking with her 3-year-old daughter down a quiet sidewalk in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. As they passed a vacant lot on Norton Avenue, between 39th and Coliseum Streets, Berzinger noticed something white lying in the overgrown grass. At first glance, she thought it was a broken store mannequin, perhaps discarded by a local shopkeeper. But as she stepped closer, a terrifying reality froze her in her tracks. It was not a mannequin. It was the mutilated body of a young woman, severed clean in half at the waist, completely drained of blood, and scrubbed clean. Her cheeks had been sliced from the corners of her mouth toward her ears in a horrific, artificial smile. This gruesome discovery marked the beginning of America's most infamous unsolved crime, launching a frenzy of sensational journalism, wild theories, and a decades-long search for justice. Who was this young woman, and who possessed the monstrous skill and malice to commit such an atrocity? To understand the murder that shocked a nation, we must first understand the victim, a girl who came to Hollywood chasing a dream, only to be swallowed by its shadows. Born on July 29, 1924, in Boston, Massachusetts, Elizabeth Short was the third of 5 daughters. Her father, Cleo Short, built miniature golf courses until the stock market crash of 1929 wiped out his fortune. Shortly after, Cleo abandoned his family, leaving his car parked on a bridge to fake his suicide. Elizabeth grew up in Medford, Massachusetts, struggling with severe asthma, requiring winter trips to warmer climates like Florida. When she was 18, her father re-emerged, living in California. Seeking adventure and a fresh start, Elizabeth traveled west in 1942 to live with him in Vallejo, but their relationship was stormy, and she quickly moved out. She bounced between Santa Barbara, Florida, and Massachusetts, eventually ending up in Southern California in late 1946. Post-war Los Angeles was a glittering boomtown, but beneath the neon glow lay a grittier world of transient boarding houses, noir night spots, and thousands of young women hoping for stardom. Contrary to popular legend, Elizabeth was not a recognized Hollywood actress. She worked sporadically as a waitress and lived on money sent by admirers. It was during this period that local press and acquaintances allegedly gave her the nickname the Black Dahlia, a play on the popular 1946 film noir The Blue Dahlia, inspired by her penchant for wearing tailored black outfits and black flowers in her hair. The timeline leading up to the tragedy narrows sharply in early January 1947. On January 9, 22-year-old Elizabeth was last seen in public at the majestic Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She had spent the previous days traveling from San Diego with a married 25-year-old salesman named Robert Red Manley. Manley dropped Elizabeth off at the Biltmore around 6:30 that evening, where she was reported making phone calls in the lobby. After that moment, Elizabeth vanished into what investigators would call the missing week. For 6 agonizing days, her whereabouts were completely unaccounted for until her body was found in the weeds of Leimert Park on January 15. The autopsy performed by Dr. Frederick Newbar revealed horrifying details. Elizabeth had been dead for roughly 10 to 24 hours before discovery. Her body had been severed into 2 pieces via a surgical technique known as a hemicorporectomy, executed between the 2nd and 3rd lumbar vertebrae. Her internal organs were intact, but her body had been thoroughly washed with liquid soap, drained of blood, and wiped down. Her ankles and wrists bore deep groove marks, indicating she had been bound and tortured while alive for several days. Cause of death was determined to be hemorrhage from the lacerations to her face and severe blunt force trauma to her head. The police force unleashed one of the largest investigations in LAPD history, deploying over several hundred officers. But the media turned the tragedy into a circus. William Randolph Hearst's newspaper, the Los Angeles Examiner, scooped the story and used shockingly unethical tactics. Reporters called Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe Short, in Massachusetts, telling her that Elizabeth had won a beauty contest, coaxing personal details from her before casually informing her that her daughter had been brutally murdered. On January 24, a suspicious package was delivered to the Los Angeles Examiner. Inside was a letter constructed from cut-out newspaper clippings, accompanied by Elizabeth's birth certificate, personal photographs, and an address book belonging to a nightclub owner named Mark Hansen. The contents had been wiped down with gasoline to remove fingerprints. The mystery deepened as police processed thousands of leads and interviewed over 150 potential suspects, while dozens of publicity seekers came forward with false confessions. Yet several compelling figures emerged over the years. One prominent suspect was Dr. George Hodel, a brilliant but eccentric physician who ran a venereal disease clinic in Los Angeles. Hodel possessed the advanced surgical skill required to perform the precise bisection of Elizabeth's body. In 1950, the LAPD bugged Hodel's mansion, recording him making chilling statements, including a recorded line where he mused about killing Elizabeth Short and his former secretary. Furthermore, Hodel's own son, retired LAPD homicide detective Steve Hodel, later discovered photos in his father's personal belongings that appeared to depict Elizabeth Short, leading him to write extensive books accusing his father of the murder. Another key suspect was Dr. Walter Bayley, a prominent Los Angeles surgeon who lived just blocks away from the vacant lot where the body was dumped. Bayley suffered from a degenerative brain condition, encephalomalacia, which caused violent outbursts and severe personality changes, and his wife later claimed he possessed secret information about the Dahlia murder. Then there was Leslie Dillon, a mortician's assistant and aspiring writer who corresponded with LAPD psychiatrist Dr. Paul de River, exhibiting intimate knowledge of details that had not been released to the public. Dillon was briefly detained, but political infighting within the police department led to his release. Other theories connected the murder to the Cleveland torso killer or organized crime figures, but no single suspect was ever formally charged. Decades after the tragic morning in Leimert Park, the murder of Elizabeth Short remains officially open and unsolved. Today, historians and criminologists view the case as a watershed moment in American true crime history, a dark turning point where the idyllic illusion of post-war Hollywood shattered against the violent realities of modern urban crime. The investigation was severely damaged from the start by evidence tampering, relentless media interference, and sensationalized reporting that blurred facts with fiction. Thousands of pages of archival records have been analyzed, yet key evidence has been lost or destroyed over time, making a definitive forensic resolution almost impossible. What remains clear is the tragedy of a young woman whose memory was devoured by the myth of the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short was not a calculated femme fatale or a Hollywood statistic, but a vibrant 22-year-old girl whose life was cut short in an unimaginable display of cruelty. Her story stands as a haunting symbol of the shadows that lurk behind the American dream. If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more detailed true crime documentaries. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on who you think was responsible for this mystery, and thank you so much for watching.